Only 11 minutes late. I don't think that's that bad, do you?
No, I blame you anyway.
I was a little late. I had like parenting things, and we have a new dog, and my wife's at a PTO meeting, and I had to shuffle some things around, but I made it happen for you people. This, we should tell you if you don't know, and you know, but if you don't know, this is US Fan TV. I am Pat, and he is Chris.
That means I am Chris.
We talk about soccer as it relates to the United States on this show, and we should start with soccer that is happening at this moment. The U.S. women lead New Zealand, as you like to say, 3-0. Alex Morgan just scored. She is awesome, and she is very pretty.
There are
I'm a
both
big
those
fan.
things.
So it looks like hopefully a comfortable win for the U.S. women here in this friendly against New Zealand, and hopefully we're starting to see the team work out some of the issues that it's had earlier this year. Although, this
Of
is when
course,
you
they
want to
are
be working.
playing New Zealand. I mean,
Yeah, I actually, I have
New
no
Zealand
concept
means
of.
more in the women's game than it does in the
Yeah,
men's,
yeah.
but it's still like, you're beating New Zealand. Okay,
But you know what? They're supposed to
good for
be.
you, but yeah, exactly. You're
They're
supposed to
doing
be.
what we can't. The men's team can't beat who
Having
they're
said that,
supposed
yeah, I
to.
was just about to say the men's team should have beaten some teams lately that it did not do it either.
So,
So there aren't a lot of positive things to say about either team right now. At least the women's team is beating the teams they're supposed to.
and we also need to wish our boy a happy birthday. Christian Pulisic turned 19 yesterday. And I put some things. Paul Carr at ESPN was on fire with the stats and whatnot about how good he's been to this point. I retweeted a lot of the things that he had put up and that Sports Center had put up. They all came from him because he's awesome. But you'll remember him from when Men in Blazers were part of Grantland and ESPN. Paul Carr blows your mind. That guy, he's good. And one of the stats, one of them he might have gone a little too far because it's him, it's Pulisic, and Messi and Ronaldo, and it shows that at this age, uh, Pulisic has either scored as much as or more than those guys at club and at country, and has played more at club and at country than they had. So, not to put too much pressure on him that isn't already there, and not to stoke the hype train anymore, but I mean that's kind of
Toot toot.
amazing. That's kind of amazing when you think about it. I'm not saying he's not going to be as good as Messi and Ronaldo. He's just not. But maybe he is. But I doubt it. But
He's not, but maybe. Yeah.
I wouldn't put anything beyond that kid at this point from what we've seen him do. But I mean, some people were concerned. Some people were like, "Dude, this is too much. You guys, what are you doing? You're going to ruin him. You're going to Freddie Adu him." What do you think? Is it too much to show that, or is it just these are the numbers and this is what they are?
I mean, look, I understand why you don't want to keep hyping players, but you also can't ignore simple facts. And these are facts. Now, granted, people weren't ignoring facts necessarily about, Freddie Adu perhaps at 15. But, you know, hype players or, interesting players are going to get the hype. And then it's whether or not they can deal with it.
It's
And so
four
far, he certainly
nothing.
seems, yeah, Alex Morgan just scored again. So,
Did she?
yeah.
I just saw the score change. So keep it rolling, ladies.
Anyway, yeah, I mean, it's about whether or not the players can live up to the hype. And hey, he seems to be doing it so far. So good for him. Good for all of us.
Yeah. He didn't start on Sunday, which had some people freaked out. He did play, but he didn't start. It was the first time this season that he hadn't started. So we kind of gotten used to things. I feel like it was a good call on Peter Bosz's part because I feel like maybe Pulisic needed a little bit of rest. Um, so, but it also kind of sucked to not see him start too, since we've gotten used to that this early in the season. What do you think? Was the rest needed? Do we need to freak out about this, or is it just a simple giving him a little bit of rest?
I'm not too worried about it. I mean, don't forget he was at least still 18. He's not going to play every single game. No player does. And as people who want to see him play for our national team, hopefully next summer, we don't want him playing in every single game. We want him to have a starting position, but we don't want him out there in every game because it just increases the likelihood that he's going to get hurt, that he gets burned out, that, come next summer, he's not 100% because he's still trying to recover from something he picked up in, January or February because he was, again, playing too much. So it is a good thing that he doesn't start from time to time. It happens to everyone.
He's also, as some of the commenters are pointing out, he's been nominated for the Golden Boy Award, which goes to
which I thought Alexi Lalas already gave him.
That's the Wonder Boy Award.
That was the
That's
Wonder Boy Award.
Different, but it's the same. Looks like we're about to be joined by TJ. Looks like he's about to pop on the line. But yeah, so
whatever the opposite of Golden Boy is, just joined us.
That's right. And he won't have his mic on. I guarantee you he won't have his mic on. We'll have to tell him to switch it on.
Shut up.
I told you. You hear the click? Yeah, so Pulisic's been nominated for the Golden Boy Award. I don't think he's the best person at his age in the world. I think it would probably be Kylian Mbappe or his old teammate Dembele. But just to see him on that list is pretty cool. What
Agreed.
do you say?
I cannot disagree with that statement.
That's a hot take right there.
You way to go out on a limb on that one.
Stephen A. Smith, you just won that.
Oh my God! Speaking of him, I'm going to get off on a tangent here. So I watched the Canelo.
Not a bad choice either. Apple juice.
Yes, I watched the Canelo Triple G fight on Saturday at a party at a friend's house. First of all, the one judge was so far out of whack for the Mexican fighter Canelo. She would fit right in CONCACAF.
Second of all, bold.
Yeah, she was being very bold, if you know what I mean, with this. Second of all, after the fact, ESPN had Teddy Atlas, the famous boxing trainer, and Stephen A. Smith screaming at each other on SportsCenter. Absolutely screaming at each other. Like, I know this show is bad and you guys just tolerate us and whatever, but we try to be smart and we try not to scream at each other. I don't know who likes people screaming at each other on television.
I'm sorry, Screaming A. Smith, that's all he does. I mean, come on, he has a nickname. That's just that. Like, he and who's the dude who went to Fox Sports with Shannon Sharp? Bayless.
Skip Bayless, who can't draw ratings higher than Bubble Guppies or...
Well, that's so well deserved, though. I mean, come on. The two of them are just idiots. They just, like... I will say, Screaming A. Smith knows a little bit more than Skip Bayless, because Skip Bayless, I can't decide if he is just doing hot takes. So it's like, I'm going to intentionally say, effectively, he's just trolling on cable TV. So I can't decide if he's just doing it because he knows that it will get a rise out of people, or if he genuinely is stupid enough to believe the things he says.
Well, at his age, senility does set in. I mean, it is possible. It could be a combination of both.
Yeah, Bayless, of course, is the brother of Chicago Mexican chef Rick Bayless of Frontera, which is the weirdest duo of brothers I have ever heard in my life. When I found out they were brothers, it was.
If I want to be honest, I think they're both creepy as hell, but I do think Rick Bayless's food is pretty awesome.
His food is good, but if you watch his show, he seems a little bit into his daughter.
Yeah.
And
that's part of what makes it creepy to me.
But his food is awesome. And I've made some of his food too. And it's through his recipes, it's great. So big props on the food. The show, I don't know. But it can't be worse than this. Right?
Welcome to US Soccer Food Fan TV.
All right. So where were we? We were talking about the hype train over Pulisic and then we got on the Stephen A. Smith tangent. But yeah, whatever. Pulisic's good. And let's not scream at each other. Also today, Weston McKennie started for Schalke against Bayern.
Yeah, talk about throwing him in at the deep end.
Here you go. He wasn't bad. He played until I think the 57th minute or something like that.
Yeah, it's 57th, 58th, 59th.
They lost 3-0, but I don't think he was spectacular, and I don't think he was terrible. And I think for your first start against Bayern, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it looked to me like he was certainly timid, kind of jitters of being in your first Bundesliga match and going against a legitimate Champions League contender. he clearly seemed to he didn't really want the ball, so to maybe kind of if you view it all together. He was clearly looking to play it first as opposed to like taking a dribble. I mean, there was one chance he got the ball somewhere a little past the arc, the top of the box, like maybe 25 yards out, 28 yards, and a quick dribble, he could have had a shot. And I think a player with a little more experience probably would have. But he quickly played it off, and I think it actually didn't help. I mean, in the end, it didn't help Schalke because they didn't even get a shot there. But I think the pass actually was the wrong choice to make there. And there was another where he got caught. I think he ran up, like kind of charged in too much and left an open spot behind him that Bayern kind of tore them apart on. But he wasn't responsible for any of the goals. Most of his passing was decent. He didn't win anything in the air, but he's not the biggest guy anyway. And again, like I said, he seemed to be a little bit timid. So whatever. I think the possibility is there to read too much into these things. I mean, it's a first performance. Even if he'd come out and scored a hat trick or something, does that make him the best player in the world? No. He got lucky maybe in his first appearance, but I don't think he was. I don't think he was great. I don't think he was bad. He was just good enough. And hey, all you really want from him right now is probably good enough because realistically, in the position he's playing, as more of a box-to-box player, and nobody in Schalke really looked good today. You kind of maybe it's a good thing that you just kind of lose him in the mess of the day and. You don't have to pick them out for being. I think the only thing that really stands out in a game like that probably are the bad players, and in that regard, he didn't stand out.
Well, and I saw him interviewed after the game on ESPN carried the interview from the Bundesliga. He played 48 minutes was the number they said, and he covered 8.2 kilometers in those 48 minutes. So he was busy. And you said he didn't look good. He didn't look bad. There's a lot of people that don't look really good when they play against Bayern. There's a reason for that.
As Arsenal fans, we can speak to that.
Yeah. Hey, they didn't give up 5 goals.
It's true. They did not give up 5 goals.
Well, and let's face it, if there's another tie, well, no, that's right. It won't happen this year because Arsenal's in the Europa League. I would still take if someone gave me 10 goals with Arsenal in a 2-leg tie with Bayern, I'd take the over. That they'd lose by more than 10. But yet I digress.
Yeah.
That might not be a poor bet.
No, and I watched bits and pieces of him today of McKennie. Like I said, he was busy, he was active, he was where he thought he should be.
Yeah, he wasn't hiding, which is a great sign that he was willing to jump in there with that level of confidence against the best team in the world, one of the best 3. So, yeah, it's a good thing.
But does Bruce put him on speed dial for the next round?
I mean, if I was,
I'm not counting on it yet.
No, he won't.
Yeah, my guess is that Bruce is looking at so many other things just beyond maybe who's playing right now. That I think maybe if he had 5 or 6 starts by then, which basically means that he'd started the season. Then possibly you see him called up. But even then, I don't know that you'd see him make the field. So does it really matter right now? I don't know.
And okay, let's just, for argument's sake, because this is a U.S. men's national team show or U.S. soccer show, let's say Bruce calls him up. Where does he slot in? Where do you put him? Who takes a seat on the pine pony?
Michael Bradley or Kellen Acosta, right?
My guess would be he's fighting with Acosta for that spot.
I hope by next year he's fighting with Michael Bradley. And I don't mean that in a way to diss the Lion, but just for a competition's sake, I hope
he wouldn't care what you say anyway, sheep.
I like him. His jersey's right here. I like him, but that comment still cracks me up. But yeah, I think it's probably Acosta. And we've got a lot of people joining. We were talking about Christian Pulisic not playing over the weekend, or not starting over the weekend a minute ago, and people are asking whether we're worried that he's going to lose his starting spot. I don't think so. I think that he'll be in the rotation, and I think that big teams need to rotate. So I think occasionally he won't start like you saw on Sunday, but they didn't need him on Sunday, obviously. So I think, yes, you'll continue to see him start quite a bit for Dortmund at this point, unless he has a terrible cold spell, and we've never really seen that from him on the club side. We're kind of seeing it now on the national team side. But
and let's face it, he plays in the Bundesliga, which as great of a league as it is, it's really 4 or 5 really good teams in a whole, and some that aren't as good. So I think that lends itself to not having a lot of dry spells. At least playing for Dortmund is not going to have that be as likely to have that.
Yeah. That's a team that values youth. I mean, that's a league that values youth. He's not playing in the Premier League where he just probably wouldn't even have gotten a chance. So
where even Danny Williams is struggling to get time with the team that picked him up, presumably for this. So yeah, I think that's a good point. As I see it go by, I think it was Clamuto. Yeah, cap tie Jonathan Gonzalez. I can't disagree with that. I don't know how he's going to get a chance, but my fear, I guess, is that should we not make the World Cup, I assume guys like Gonzalez are gone. I mean, everything Gonzalez has said is that he feels American. He's going to play for the United States. He chooses them over Mexico. He could have gone. I know there was the chance that he, or at least they were looking into or considering that he could have gone to Chivas, at which point he basically would have become a Mexican national team player, and he turned it down. He didn't want to do it. Like I said, every indication is that he wants to represent the U.S. So in that case, maybe it's not necessary to cap tie him right now. But for a guy who's playing well in a league that's better than MLS, for the most part anyway, I think you got to start looking at him. Unfortunately, I think with just 2 games left and they're both meaningful, I don't see any new faces coming in.
No, and this is an exception I wish he would make. I don't know if the guy watches the show, but we have a guy who's like our #1 L-Tree troll on Twitter. Like anytime, like he's always sending us stuff to try to get us going. And I don't know if you watch the show, let us know what your screen name is. But he was trying to get us going with Gonzalez. And you know what? We might lose out. And it's sort of like what happened with Sofia Huerta on the women's side. She didn't get the chance she wanted with the U.S. She wanted to play for the U.S., so she went and played for Mexico. Now she's back with the U.S. on a one-time switch, but I mean, who knows what's going to happen with Gonzalez? So hopefully, I don't think Bruce cares right now about getting guys capped out. I think he cares about getting us qualified for the World Cup, and then we'll see what happens. And that leaves, what better does Mexico have to do right now? They've already qualified, so they can pull that in the next couple of games. They've got the luxury.
And I mean, the problem we face right now is, Mexico can attempt to cap tie guys.
I'm not. By the way, no, it can't. He played with Mexico's U23s. He's made his one-time switch. He's not going anywhere. Jesse Gonzalez is stuck with the U.S.
No, not Jesse Gonzalez. Jonathan Gonzalez.
Oh, Jonathan Gonzalez. Okay.
Yeah.
No, we're talking about Jesse Gonzalez.
Jesse Gonzalez is ours. Ricardo says Gonzalez isn't that good of a player. I haven't seen enough of him to know. But Ricardo's a smart guy.
The thing is, like, I'm not going to say, he absolutely deserves to be in here or anything. My point is just that, and on top of it, he's still young. Like, there's plenty of opportunity to grow. Does he fit into this team right now? I don't know. Could he? Maybe. Does he right now? Probably not. In the end, we're talking about future prospects anyway, and that's why people want to cap time. I'm torn a little bit on the cap tying thing because on the one hand, I agree with, I'd love to, block Mexico from getting guys who maybe could help them. Why not? But at the same time, does it benefit these players? And do we need them? I don't fault somebody who, if we don't want them and they have the opportunity to play for somebody else, I don't fault them from going to play for somebody else, even if it's Mexico. Like, I'm sorry we miss out, but, I can't knock some guy for wanting to play at the highest level that he can internationally, and somebody else gave him a chance and we didn't. You know, if we don't value him, by all means, let him go. But let's make sure we know who we value and who we don't. And that's where I think we need to give Jonathan Gonzalez some opportunities, because he is taking the chances, and he is using them in Liga MX. And to me, that says give him some new chances. I mean, it's just like we've talked about, for months about like Josh Sargent. He was taking the chances at the level he had, so you give him the next challenge. You give him the next opportunity to grow. And I don't see where Gonzalez gets that opportunity right now, because like we've said, there's only 2 games right now, and they are supremely meaningful. I mean, if we don't win these games, effectively we're setting our national team back perhaps 10, 20 years. And Bruce isn't going to take any chances in that regard.
There have been people who have argued that if we do miss the World Cup, it would be a blessing in disguise.
No, it's
because
not.
We would, we'd be able to blow everything up and reset it. And I think those people think that we would be able to make all of the big picture changes that may be necessary. And I don't see that happening either.
There's a few problems with that. And if you want to see what missing out on something does, look at Arsenal. They've missed out on everything. And maybe not Europa League, but they've sure missed out on a hell of a lot. Are they getting better? No. Has it paid off for Costa Rica in the past? Not particularly. Like to not make the World Cup or something. I mean, it doesn't necessarily make you get better. It can serve as an incentive or as an impetus for change if the foundation is set to make the change. But, for something like this, we don't have that foundation, I think, in place to truly revolutionize everything that people want. They're just going, well, okay, this is kind of papering over the cracks, maybe, but at least they're attempting to make changes. I think the problem becomes we lose out on that block. We don't just miss the players. Like my big problem, this is why I say it could be a 10 to 20 year setback, is we miss a whole block of players who maybe at 9 years old could have seen the U.S. play in a World Cup and found something exciting and decided that this is what they wanted to do and dedicate themselves to it and become the next Bobby Woods, basically, where it's like, oh, I didn't know what the hell this was, but I saw the World Cup on TV. I thought it was cool.
Somebody argued, though, I think fairly effectively on one of our comments, that it's not like the old days where soccer isn't going to be on TV if we miss the World Cup. You're still going to get the Premier League every day. You're still going to, and that may be what people are more interested in anyway. So
hell, you're still going to have every World Cup game on TV.
Yeah. Having said that, though, there's less casual fan following, which means less money for U.S. soccer, which means is their incentive as great to do things that revolutionize the sport, or do they go, whoa, we just had a bad year. We just lost a bunch of money, or at least relatively speaking, because their revenues will be down. What are we going to do now? They're going to lose advertising. They're going to lose viewership, which is going to further short their advertising, and their next contracts aren't going to be as big then. So they're looking at a long-term downward projection in terms of revenues. And does that incentivize them to make positive changes for the program? I don't believe it.
No, there's nothing to be gained by missing the World Cup. Anybody who says that is talking out of their ass, which I know, Chris, you're the expert at, Chris. So, I mean, I have to agree with you, and that really pains me to say. There's nothing good that comes from missing the World Cup.
Show me one example of somebody who's failed, and like not just maybe on an individual level, like where they go, oh, Michael Jordan got cut from the JV basketball team. Show me on a team level or at a national level at which failure becomes the key to success.
It only works in American sports like baseball, where you get really bad to get good. But
I was going to say on a national level, you could make the argument that the college all-stars in 1988 for the men's Olympics in basketball led to the dream team.
Yeah.
So
there's that.
You can make that argument. However, I don't think that works today. At least not in the World Cup, where they're already all professionals playing in. That's not going to change. There's nothing to be gained by this. Let's face it. This is the last run for a lot of guys. There's going to be a shit ton of transition when this is all said and done, including Bruce Arena not being around. It'll be somebody else. So you're going to get the change you want one way or the other. So you tell me what's going to be gained by missing the World Cup. other than, well, we might, like we said, we may go away when this is all, if that happens.
Yeah.
That will just get angrier and angrier, Chris, which again could lead to more viewers. So that all said, no, nothing to be gained. But I agree. No, you're not going to see any shock surprises into camp. You're going to see Wondolowski in camp again. So, nothing to be gained. What else?
All right, NASL. Last week, U.S. Soccer took away their sanctioning. This week, they filed an antitrust lawsuit against USSF. I feel like this one's for TJ. Go.
Did you just turn off your mic?
He's done it again.
Are you saying I might have an opinion or two on this one?
Yes. Go ahead, and I'm going to run and get a drink. I'll be back.
All right. No, there's a lot of the best things I found today, other than some of the comedic elements to it on Twitter, were Nipan Chapora, who's from Indianapolis. He's one of the more dialed in people with the NASL. He's a PhD guy. I love this tweet because I think this sums up this lawsuit in a nutshell. 25% appropriate criticisms of USSF. Foil. 25% Bravo, and 25% what the fuck, which is all 100% riveting. And that's about the best summation of all of it. And I've looked through some of it, and then some of it bored me, and then some I'm looking at it going, really? This is your argument? And this is one of my favorite sections of this lawsuit. I got to find it here. So this is section 87 of this, however this legal stuff works out. I'm not a lawyer. I didn't play one on TV. I don't pretend to be one. The clubs that left NASL after its application for Division I status were rejected by the USSF were the Fort Lauderdale Strikers, Minnesota United FC, Ottawa Fury FC, Rayo OKC, the San Antonio Scorpions, and the Tampa Bay Rowdies. The set of departures had nothing to do with the quality of product offered by the NASL. The high quality of clubs in the NASL was illustrated by the fact that Minnesota United and previously the Montreal Impact were able to join MLS when they left the NASL, proving they were Division I quality clubs. Okay. If you're using that as an argument, you're going to try and convince a federal judge, not the fact that Fort Lauderdale Strikers went into bankruptcy. Tampa Bay Rowdies were the one that bailed them, kept them from going into bankruptcy. San Antonio Scorpions went into bankruptcy. Real OKC, when they got relegated in Spain, didn't have the money. Not that they did to begin with. Yeah. I feel like this is a Hail Mary. I feel like at the end of the day, this is just going to lead to the NASL basically closing its doors when it's all said and done. But the guy who runs the Cosmos, Rocco Commissia, who I believe is now the head of the board of governors as well, running the show. He doesn't do anything quietly. He feels like his name is the reason enough for being the Cosmos is enough to hang around between him and the guy in Miami. I don't know. There is some valid things in there. Not enough, I think, to do it, because the question is the standards that are in place that are arbitrary. Well, yeah, they are arbitrary. Why 18,000, not 15,000? Why, net worth 3 times worth, whatever. Yes, those are arbitrary numbers. And maybe there's some formula that calculated them. But the bottom line is this is to make sure your league stays solvent. NASL hasn't proven that yet. I mean, I'm a believer more soccer is better. More chances to get these guys out there and get them playing at a higher level, the better. I'd love to see NASL hang around.
More jerseys to buy.
For you specifically, yes.
For me specifically. But
yeah, I kind of feel like this is just the Cosmos owner trying to further build his personal brand. And who knows? Maybe he still thinks that if he can draw enough attention, make the Cosmos brand special enough or get enough attention to it, that it'll somehow still lead to someone either buying it or someone coming in with the right connections who will get him an MLS team. But whatever. Well, I think the guy's just kind of delusional.
Well, the other one with him is Ricardo Silva? Is that the guy from Miami?
Yes.
He's the other one with this. They basically want to have. I like the concept that they wanted to buy into MLS cheap, so they went into NASL to try and force their way in.
Yep.
And that's just not how it's going to happen.
Did they really think that was going to happen without the setup in place to do that?
I think Silva thought with his money he could do it. And I think the dude, Rocco, whatever his name is, who owns the Cosmos, I think he just has the ego. I can't tell what the money situation is there, but it seems to me that he just believes that, well, of course I'll do it because I'm me. What are you going to do about it?
Well, if your product in the NASL is so good, he owns the New York Cosmos, which supposedly is one of the biggest names in U.S. soccer. Still, I have my doubts about that. I don't think
says
more.
Says the New York Cosmos.
Says the New York Cosmos.
We're the biggest team we've ever heard of.
And here's the thing: their team plays at a minor league baseball stadium on Coney Island. So in terms of location for New York City, he's probably not going to do much better. And yet they still average 3,000 or 4,000 a game, maybe. Now I get it; it's better than Hofstra and the 60 people that showed up every week last year. But you're still looking at 4,000 or 5,000 people, and you have one of the more ideal places to play in New York City, and people don't show up. You call it Division II, Division III, Division I. People don't show up.
I mean, would there be any difference if in what you called it? Does that matter to people? It's minor league. I think that's the way the casual fan looks at it. It's soccer, but it's not major league soccer. And yeah, I think one of the points of this lawsuit was that U.S. soccer and MLS are too tightly joined at the hip, and MLS doesn't want to have promotion and relegation, and neither at this point does U.S. soccer. So they're joined together, and they're fighting off all the people who are opening their mouths. And if I've got that much money entwined in it, I would fight them off too. But there's people who want to see it, and they're not going to do it unless they're forced to do it. That's a different argument, though. But yeah, does the average fan that's going to an NASL or USL game care about their sanctioning? Do they even know? I wonder. I think the more educated fans know, obviously, but they know. But if you're just buying a ticket to go see soccer, do you have any clue except that they don't play in MLS, right?
And this is the argument I've made on this show several times, and I make him all the time. People who immerse themselves in Twitter don't understand Twitter is still not reality. I've had this. You guys know where I sit for the Fire games, and I've been sitting there for 7 years now. And people around me don't know 90% of the stuff that shows up on Twitter when it involves the Fire. I assume this is probably true of any fan base. The bottom line is soccer Twitter is not reality, just like anything else on Twitter. It is not reality. Most people don't care. Most people don't know. And these are people who are paying decent money for their seats, and they still just don't care. They want to see a product that's entertaining and wins. They don't care. Okay, so let's just play this out a little bit. Let's give NASL its Division I standing that it wants. The Cosmos and Miami can spend whatever money they want. Okay, you've just become China. I don't see people here breaking down doors and everything to go watch the Chinese league play. I don't see even 11 Sports or BN Sports picking up the Chinese league to show those games live or anything like that. There's more to it. And anybody maybe you can argue MLS is tied at the hip too tight with you, or USSF and MLS are tied at the hip. Well, MLS is what grew out of the USSF and hosting the World Cup in '94.
Yeah, exactly.
MLS has NFL money. As I have said many times, NFL owners have more money than God. There's a reason why they are where they are. Rocco and Silva might have that kind of money. But last I checked, the Edmonton Eddies don't have it. Rumors that San Francisco Deltas are going to close up shop after a year. Carmelo has a lot of money. I won't argue that in Puerto Rico. He may not have a stadium after this weekend. But that said, he does not have Arthur Blank money. He doesn't have Robert Kraft money.
Bob Kraft, yeah.
Yeah. He doesn't have Uncle Phil's money. He doesn't have Paul Allen money. You got, like I said, there's the NFL. A bad franchise is still worth a few $1 billion. There's a reason, and they wasn't always that way.
Based on attendance numbers this weekend, it may be trending in the opposite direction. I think the NFL has peaked. I would argue the two Los Angeles teams. The Chargers couldn't sell out the Galaxy Stadium.
Well,
but yes, there's a long way to go for MLS to catch the NFL. Yes, but But
No, they're not going to.
The NFL has, I believe, hit its peak with the concussion thing weighing in it, with the fact that the games are 4 hours long. You know, the fact that fantasy is now more important to most people than their local team's success. Yeah, it's so
I think you can make that argument. You can make that argument with pro sports in general, but that's a whole nother tangent for a whole nother time. That there's just so many different options. There's so many different things to watch on TV. You don't go to games anymore, and when you do go, they're so damn expensive. I mean, we've talked about that too. How much are tickets to go watch the World Cup qualifiers? And that's not even before you get a beer, before you pay to park or anything like that. I mean, they said the StubHub Center for the Chargers was $100 to park. That's on top of probably.
It's so hard to get out of that place too. It's
and God, what a train wreck of a parking lot to leave.
Yeah.
How long did it take us to get out of there?
It was, I think, an hour getting out of the lot, and then
to go basically 100 yards.
In Carson at that point, so you got a long way to go wherever you're going. So,
I guess, and then now we were talking earlier about the U.S. missing the World Cup. Though this could be a good thing. Well, L.A. didn't have football for a generation. Didn't have the NFL for a generation. The Raiders when they went to Oakland, the Rams when they went to St. Louis. I mean, it was 20 or 30 years, wasn't it? Give or take.
Yeah, it's
so at least 20. I mean, I'm
1994. I think last season, 1994, 95, right in there.
And most people said then the LA fans don't care anymore about. Yeah. So when the Raiders and the Chargers and everything were coming in, and everybody was looking at the LA market, nobody cared.
I used to say that about Atlanta and pro sports.
Yeah, wow.
But holy shit, was I wrong about soccer in Atlanta? Apparently. So
South Florida,
you rock.
including our viewer who has complained about my comments about South Florida and what bad sports fans they are. I guess South Florida, now you have a chance perhaps to prove us wrong if David Beckham can get a golden balls, can get his stadium.
My God. But one of the cool things that they did in Atlanta, besides having a Chick-fil-A in the stadium that can't be open on Sundays because of religion. But one of the cool things they did is Arthur Blank made the food cheap for Falcons and for Atlanta United games. So if you go there, you can get like a $2 hot dog or a $5 beer, which is, in what you're paying at most other places is half price. But he wanted to do that and he said it's a long-term thing because it just makes it more enticing. And to me, it does. I think that's a great move. And I don't think you're losing that much revenue from it. So bravo to him. And
meanwhile, Stan Kroenke built himself a giant stadium, then bought himself a ranch larger than the state of Rhode Island, and decided to screw over all his teams.
I hope he builds that stadium in LA and no one goes.
I hope that some kind of terrible freak of nature, act of God comes and destroys it, and somehow it's one of these things that isn't covered by insurance.
If only you could pass your luck on to him. He is, what he's known for? We like to go off the rails at this point in the show. You know what Stan Kroenke's known for? When he needs to drop a deuce, he will have his security guards clear out a bathroom at the NFL stadiums so that he can go in and do his business alone.
Well, that could be for the fans' own protection, to be honest. you're not full of shit.
The man is a walking piece of shit. So
I think we've covered it tonight. What do you guys think?
The only other things I was going to bring up, Pulisic and Bobby Wood face off tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yes. We will watch.
BBB
We will talk about it Thursday.
And Tab Ramos did just re-up as U20 manager. Does this bode or provide any kind of indications for the future of the national team?
I'm going to venture out on a limb and say right after the World Cup, Tab Ramos is named the men's national team coach, and that would be a hot take
as well.
None.
yeah.
That's Captain Obvious.
I don't think that's going out too far on a limb. I could see him getting an opportunity very soon, and I would guess that's part of the reason that they re-signed him here was they wanted to find a way to hold on to him until then.
All right, this is USfanTV. The website is USfanTV.com. We have Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. They are all USfanTV. We do not like Snapchat because Snapchat sucks, and we're too old to figure it out. We don't want to. You know where to look for us on Craigslist. And we have YouTube. but you know that. And tons of you subscribed last week. We had a really awesome week. So if you're new, thank you and welcome. If you haven't subscribed and you're watching right now, click subscribe for us. That makes us very happy. And I think your goal should be to make us happy. And tell your friends. Tell your friends.
Well, apparently we've got Jim Morales who says we should be going on Pornhub.
Everybody says we are Pat Cruz on Pornhub.
Is that is that the Pat where the Patterbaiter comes from?
I saw a guy with a Brazzers sticker the other day on his car. I tried to get a picture, but he was driving like a guy that Chris and I used to work with who would drive so fast he would end up in ditches all the time.
Oh God.
He was driving that fast. So I'm like, I'm not going to do that. It's not worth the Brazzers photo, but I did see it and it was amazing. TJ, do you have any final words?
Fuck Wando.
Chris?
Fuck Wando, fuck Snapchat. Thanks, everybody. You're done.
All right. See you Thursday night. Adios.